Little pullback, little bounce for BTC around the 58K region, which is what we were looking at yesterday. But has this created some warning bells for some of these altcoins? There's a couple of dark-looking tweets out there from some big names talking about downside on altcoins. I thought, let's deal with this thing today. Let's look at some key levels. Let's see what is actually going on with these altcoins. Do we need to be bearish, or can we still be bullish leading in to Wednesday's rate cuts? Tons to talk about here. Let's get right into this. And remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe. Here's the new likes bouncer today. There he is, New Ray. New Ray is in the house today. He's bashing out like discipline to everybody out there. He's managing some chats there for me as well. Ray's sleeping. He's in Brazil. If you guys are wondering what is going on, well, I've taken the early slot today because I'm flying out to Singapore later for the Token 49 and the Solana conference. So we got tons happening. I wanted to give you a high impact, high alpha show today, focusing just on these altcoins and BTC. We're not going to diddle daddle with any news and things like that. We're going in hard here. We're going to tee you up for Wednesday, big day. So no show from me tomorrow. So what you're seeing now should tide you over into Wednesday. Okay, massive day. And then naturally, I'm going to update there. Let's take a look at Banter Bubbles. And doesn't this tie in nicely with my super bearish tile that we're looking at the moment? Are these altcoins all going to hell? But look at this Phantom glowing 4.4% up, but the rest absolute dog shit at the moment. Very messy out there, and tied in with that BTC little fallover that we predicted last night that we were talking about on my show. So let's get into BTC quickly. Let's talk these levels, and then we're going to get straight into some of these altcoins. So let's go BTC on the 4 hour. Well, we don't want that one. We don't want that one. We don't want that one. We want this one. Okay. So here we are, BTC on the 4 hour. Oh, in fact, this is now the 12 hour. Forgive me. This is BTC on the 12 hour. So I've got a 12 hour and I've got a 1 hour set up for you guys. So this is what we're looking at currently. And we were at our rejection band over the weekend. This was always a big region for us. For those watching on Thursday, on Friday, and last night, naturally, this was a big rejection zone for us. The 60,200 leading into 61,150. This remains upside resistance until proven otherwise. This remains a big danger zone here for BTC. Until we start breaking these highs, we can only look at this thing as an existing downtrend now that we need to play with. So until we start cracking through trends and we start breaking highs, we need to be a little bit cautious here. On some of these altcoins, we need to be cautious with BTC. But what has actually played out here? And so far, so good. So Friday, you saw we had a beautiful bounce through our anchored VWAP. We popped through that big area. I was saying yesterday on the show, let's look for a pullback onto the anchored VWAP. Look what they've done here for us, 58,100, bang. And a nice little bounce there for us on that VWAP. I've added to my BTC long. I'm going to show you guys that one in a second. And now that is key support for us, 58,100 to the downside, watching 57,500, another big zone here, and not expecting too much deeper than this leading into Wednesday. Now, remember, this is a massive week for us. We've got the Fed is cutting rates. Okay, this is what everybody's waiting for. This is the big story. Is it 25 basis points? Is it going to be 50 basis points? That remains to be seen. But the key here is, how is the market going to react to what is going down on Wednesday? So right now I'm expecting a little bit of volatility, nothing serious. And then Wednesday, the real deal. We're going to get a pump. We're going to get a dump. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But right now for me, downside 57,488. And then I'm going to give you one more. Okay. If they are going to come and kill us, 55,500. Okay. Mark that one to the downside, 55,500. That's the death zone. Okay, that is where they're really going to come and hurt us. For me, if they do bleed us into that, I would expect a nice, strong scalp long situation there to be playing out for us. Okay, let's take a look at okay, well, we've covered that. I told you, no news today, just alpha. Okay, so here's my prime XBT current situation. I'm long 1 Bitcoin. You can see off that anchored VWAP there. You can see where my stop is now sitting. I'm going to raise that. If we do get a slight little push here, I'm just going to raise that stop, that link short that I was in yesterday. I closed that one on a nice little level. I flipped long here with link at the moment. We're going to see. We're testing a little bounce at the moment. I'm not convinced that this is now the bounce to new highs. We're going to just play this one accordingly. But so far, so good. Link has been treating me relatively well. And let's dial in now. BTC closer tighter little time frames here, and you can see what's going on. This is BTC on our 1 hour. We had this beautiful rising trend here, and now we've bounced on that anchored VWAP that we were looking at yesterday. In fact, I was saying this exact thing yesterday. Let's just take a look at this quickly here. Let's just take a look. Hardest, just let me know if you can hear the sound. And this was me last night. We were talking about this situation. Any push down here, that's for buying for me. 58,691. I'm watching very closely here. And our anchored VWAP that has been so reliable for us in the past. Look at that. It was big resistance for us there. Big resistance for us there previously as well. That is just bringing up the rear here for us. 58,200. So a nice little wick onto that anchored VWAP could be a play for us. And it was indeed a little wick onto that anchored VWAP again, playing its part. This is the way we like it. You know, we love these high impact zones and these little things that give us confluence here for these bounces. And if you dial in, I mean, this was absolute perfection. That little bounce we had this morning off that anchored VWAP. So what is notable now to me for BTC, we are in a rising trend. We cannot turn bearish until we lose this rising trend, even on the 1 hour. So we can remain bullish until we start closing underneath these levels. What is notable to me is the weekly pivot from 𝗬𝗟𝗨𝗕. That is, we are now at the top of that pivot. So that is slight bullish help there for us if we can hold the top of this weekly pivot. But what happens next? Okay, so what I'm expecting here, and naturally you can see I was planning for that bounce long on BTC. I'm looking for this to hold. Naturally, if we start losing trend and we start losing this anchored VWAP, well, then things start looking very sad for us. Okay, then we start looking on the 1 hour at things like 57K, 57,500, that sort of stuff. So right now, it's critical. Now, for the next 3-4 hours today, leading into US Open, it's going to be squeaky bum time. So this is what the bulls want to see hold. The bears, naturally, you can see your target, 57,466. I've got the anchored VWAP from the dump on the 5th of September as well. That is a nice little level for us, 57 to 57,200. Anywhere in this region is going to be the next reaction zone. So if they want to come and send us down and want to end us, that is our reaction zone that we're going to be watching. And remember, it's quite nice to tie it in to some liquidation levels, and you can get a little guide as to what these guys are planning for the day. And to the downside, we can see here, we've got 58K, nice hot little zone there. And then a little push down to about 57,300 takes us to those little levels to the downside. And then upside, we can take a look here, 59,700. And then if we push this thing up, look at that, all the way up to 61, could be an easy little target here for these market makers if they do want to send it higher. So right now for me, we're watching this zone. This is critical right now. If we do get a push higher, what are you looking at for resistance? 59,300. Watch that closely. Next one we're looking at 59,800. Okay, these are all reasonable and feasible rejection zones for us. Then our next big one is going to be 60,400. That's going to take out these highs in that type of region over there. So watch that region closely. You've got your supports here. You've got your bigger dip levels as well. Now, naturally, if we do start dropping and losing trends like this, these altcoins are going to feel some pain. So I've got some selected alts for you guys today. Some of the ones you've seen a lot, but then I've got things like Pendle that we're going to look at. I've got things like Ondo that I'm going to look at for you that are looking a little bit heavy at the moment. And I do suspect we're going to get some nice zones if we do get a little bit of a dump there. So let's jump into our first. Let's just jump into the drama. Okay, this is what the tile's about. Now, Ben Cowan, very level-headed chap, and he's often right. This guy nails it. Okay, very analytical guy, and you know, some people say he's a little bit too bearish, but he's just dropped a little note here today. He says a lot of people holding large bags of altcoins are mocking ETH BTC right now, but history shows when ETH BTC crashes, the alts will follow. Now, that is a warning sign. This is warning bell number 1. Okay, so he's looking at total 3. And if you take a look at his chart here, this is the weekly. It's actually lost some key weekly support. So interesting way that he's looking at it at the moment. And that has now lost a heavy level there for us. So warning bell number 1 for these altcoins. This is why, you know, I don't want to say that we are out of the woods here and we can turn super bullish. Let's look at warning bell number 2. Dominance. Okay, weekly dominance here is starting to push higher. If we dial in on this weekly and we really start zooming in, you can see this weekly dominance. While these altcoins have lost major weekly support, dominance is now breaking through major weekly resistance. What does that tell us? It tells us bullish on Bitcoin. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to be going up. Okay, what it's telling us here is if dominance is going up, that can be linked to Bitcoin pumping, or it can be linked to Bitcoin dumping. But the dumping side of BTC is going to be absolutely brutal for these altcoins. So bulls better pray, okay, that if we do get this dominance push, because you can see we've now broken through this weekly. Bulls, if we get this dominance push, best Bitcoin is pushing up to 61K, 62K, things like that. And then these alts will be all right. But if this dominance starts climbing here, with BTC falling over, dropping to 56, 57K, those type of things, be ready with your altcoins, because there's going to be pressure. And we're going to see 𝗏𝗏𝗜𝗏 saying things like, I told you so. He's going to be. Then the other big one, the other indicator, look at this, ETH BTC. This thing looks terrible. And we are now breaking through levels last seen in April 2021. Okay, this is the weekly chart that we're watching. And I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that this thing is going to be under pressure. So if we don't get a reversal pretty soon here, I suspect there's going to be a lot of pain here in the alt markets. And we can see on 𝗏𝗏𝗜𝗏's chart, number one, we can see on that Bitcoin dominance pumping as well. That's a danger zone for us. And then ETH BTC falling over, that could be a little bit of pain. Now, there is a drop of hopium here. I'm going to give you guys a sprinkle of hopium. I'm not trying to be a bear. My view has always been some kind of push into the rates cuts, which we've now had. Okay, I'd like to see another day or so of pumpage from BTC and the altcoins. Then I'm expecting a sell-off. Okay, that is the game plan. But I do expect that sell-off to get bought up. Okay, I'm not saying we're going to go to hell for the next year. I'd like to see the sell-off get bought up relatively quickly and then push in nicely into October, November, and have a nice little move. So there is a little bit of bull source left on ETH BTC. I just want to show you what that is. And if I pull out a trend here, you can see that we do have a slight example of bullish divergence here. You can see the price action is trending lower, and I've got my RSI just trying to trend a little bit higher. Okay, so bulls are going to take that. They're going to take a big sigh of relief here. They're going to say, whew, okay, so maybe there's a little reversal coming. And we know if we do get a nice reversal on ETH BTC, that is really going to help our altcoins. And some of us then will turn around and say, hang on, this is actually just a fake out to the downside, and we've sent this thing up. Okay, and these alts are going to be cooking. We're going to be euphoric again, and all these types of things. And then we're going to deal with it when we get to resistance. Okay, and I'm going to be sitting in front of you guys saying, be careful here. We are now at resistance. Okay, so there's a little bit of bull source left in this terrible and sad looking ETH BTC chart. We'll have to see how it plays out. And then my others chart that I've been showing you guys for a week. Now, remember, others is the entire crypto market, excluding the top 10 tokens. Okay, so it's the entire shit coinery that is sitting out there. And right now, this is still sitting under major weekly resistance. So again, I can't turn bullish on this until we get a clean break here, and then we start pushing higher. So isn't this interesting? We've got dominance breaking up on a weekly resistance band. We've got total 3 losing weekly support. We've got ETH BTC putting pressure on weekly support, telling us it might want to dip lower. And then we've got others pushing into resistance. So they're all actually not looking great at the moment. Okay, they're looking a little bit sad here for us. So we definitely need some kind of spark in the market just to get things going. Now, if anybody is interested in, I mean, you're looking at all the stuff and all these lines I'm drawing and all these, the levels and all the charts, and you think, what is this guy actually going on about? Well, the simplest way to understand what I'm doing here is to sign up for Sniper School. So Sniper School is going to teach you how to do levels that I'm doing, how to use RSIs, how to pull fibs, how to look at all these things the way I do. And then it will help you understand the jargon. It will also help you understand where to buy and sell your altcoins if you are learning how to trade. Okay, and the simplest way to do it, sign up for Sniper School. There's a link in the description here for you guys. It's absolutely free, and help yourself. Okay, so if you're new to crypto or you're interested in crypto, you're naturally watching the show, you're clearly interested in trading, go learn. Okay, go do Sniper School. Very simple stuff to learn, and it's totally free for you guys. So jump in there. And then you'll understand what I'm talking about when you see all of these lines that I've dished out here for you on these charts. So let's take a look at our first altcoin today. This is Sol. And I mean, this is a big important one for me because we know we've got the Solana conference coming up in the next couple of days. Now, this has always been a bullish trade for SOL based on the last 3 or 4 years. So we were expecting some kind of nice push on SOL, but unfortunately, this hasn't transpired just yet. And SOL, to be fair, has actually underperformed a little bit of late. So right now we can see SOL on the 12-hour is still at a major resistance zone. And what I've highlighted here on this chart was for the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 guys earlier, and I've dropped this in 𝗧𝗏𝗏, but you can see SOL is now still under a very clear downtrend. You can see we've had a rejection of that anchored VWAP there, and we are now drifting lower. So key levels that I'm watching on the 12-hour for Solana leading into Wednesday, 127. Then I've got 121.5. Now, how did the bulls save the day? Okay, SOL's got a lot of work to do here. And the only way I can turn bullish on Solana is if we get a guard pump out of these altcoins and BTC, and we actually crack through 137.5. If we break through that region, it tells me we're breaking through the anchored VWAP, we're breaking through trend, we are breaking through big horizontals. If we get an aggressive push through there, then the bulls are going to confidently look for buyers at around about 137 to then send this one higher. Until we get there, we have to remain a little bit cautious on Solana. Now, those of you that have been watching me, you know that I've been building a SOL position over the last week or two, and that thing is now relatively flat. My average entry is 130, and I'm going to show you now on a lower time frame chart exactly what we're looking at. So this is now SOL on the 1 hour, and I just want to highlight again, when you are looking for entries on your trades, the best thing you can do is zoom out 12-hour daily. Understand what's going on in the big picture, the global picture here. Then you dial in on the 1 hour and you say, okay, let's pull out some leverage. Let's look for some potential entries here. And that is my strategy. That is how I go about it. And I've now dialed into SOL here on the 1 hour after understanding what needs to happen on the 12-hour. Now we are looking at some interesting things. So you can see SOL has lost this rising trend. Okay, and immediately we understand if you lose a rising trend, you are actually turning a little bit bearish. So now this rising trend is no longer. We've lost the trend. We've also lost key horizontals, 132.2. We've lost the anchored VWAP from the September dump, which is a major support level for us that we've now lost. And now SOL has got work to do. So right now SOL is pushing into this resistance band. How do we turn bullish on SOL? Well, we need to start reclaiming this 132 region and then give a nice hard push through that trend. But until we start actually doing that, we cannot be that bullish on Solana. So right now for me on the 1 hour time frame, I'm using today's lows as my exit zone. Okay, there's today's lows, 129. My average entry is 130. And naturally now I'm traveling. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to have time to sit in front of the chart. So I'm going to set a hard stop here on Solana at the 129 level. You can see here are my current trades in Bybit. There is SOL. I've now grown that. It's $47,000 size position. My average entry is 130. You can see I'm in a phantom long. I'm going to take you through that one in a minute. And I'm naturally going to be under pressure here on Solana if we do start falling over. So I'm looking to hold this 132. Then if we get bullish, I'm going to add to that position again. And then my exit plan here, if we start closing under this 129, I'm going to bounce because I'm traveling. I don't have access to these types of things. We'll have to watch it closely as it plays out. Now, what do you do leading into Wednesday if I'm not here and you haven't seen the charts and things like that? Well, what I can do is give you your next level to the downside. Okay, that's this 127 that you're going to be watching. If things start falling over, 127 is what you're going to look at for your next potential reaction on SOL. And then naturally, as you saw on that bigger chart here, we've got a big candle here with tons of liquidity. And once they start pressing lower here, then I wouldn't be surprised if they want to come and test that potential double bottom from that September dump. So eyes on these levels, the lows 120 to 121, then you've got 127.5, and then right now using 129, that was the dump from earlier today, couple of hours back and during that Asia session. So SOL, you guys are covered there. You know exactly what the plan is. And let's talk AVAX. So a very similar situation here for AVAX. You can see we've got a 12-hour downtrend at the moment, and there was a little fake out. So you can see nice little downtrend for AVAX and a little fake out. What did it reject off? The 100-day moving average. Okay, typical reaction zone there for us on AVAX. So that is clear resistance now, 25.5. What have we bounced off? Okay, anyone who was watching yesterday, you would have highlighted a 382 fib. You would have picked up that we had our anchored VWAP from the September dumps as well, giving confluence there, and we've got horizontal tie-in. So this was always going to be a reaction zone for AVAX. So right now, AVAX traders on the 12-hour, your current support, you want to be watching 23.5. Okay, anything down to even 23 is an interesting zone of support here for today. If we do get further weakness leading into Wednesday, then the next big one for me is going to be 22.4. Put your alarms on in the zone. If things do turn super bearish, that is where you want to be triggered. That is where you're potentially looking for your next bounce long on AVAX. And you can see I've got some really nice confluence here. I've got a rising trend in play. Look at that. Nice little rising trend. Then I've got a 618 and I've got some horizontals there. So we know if this thing starts falling over, great little reaction zone for us. Nice little bounce area there on AVAX. So 22.45, eyes on that one. Let's dial in again. Same story. Now, after that dump today, yesterday, you guys would have seen, if you watched the show, I was in an AVAX short. I was in a Rune short. I was in Injective short. I've closed the AVAX short. I flipped long now once we had this bounce earlier today. And I'm going to show you that setup and my thought process behind it. But if we are zooming in to AVAX now on the 1 hour, we're looking for scalper zones and things like that. What can we pay attention to? So the first thing that comes to, well, the first thing that's sort of pretty obvious here to us is our 382 fib at this 23.6 region. And we've got our anchored VWAP from the dump on 6th of September. So we know this is an area for us that we want to see hold as support for a next bullish push higher on AVAX. So for me, I'm using this as support. This 23.6, I'm using this as support. If we do drop onto that region, that means we're printing a higher low, and then AVAX could be looking to grind a little bit higher. So right now for me, 23.6, I'm using that as support for AVAX if we are going to turn bullish. If there's a meltdown later today, okay, during the US session, this is the most likely reaction zone here, 23. Look at that. You're going to look for consolidation there. That is where I would be looking for longs, 23, or alternatively, like I showed you on that bigger chart, here's our 22 region. Okay, you do have confluence here at 22 as well. That is horizontals tied in with your 618. So high conviction zone here for me at 23 on the 1 hour, looking for a strong bounce there. If we lose that region, this is your most likely zone where you get your next reaction. So if you see the market falling over and you end up somewhere in the middle of one of these levels, okay, best bet is to sit back and wait, okay? Identify the hot zones, let it come to these hot zones, okay? We can always react when it gets down to that level, but quite often, you know, if you see an altcoin starting to close in the middle of an area there, it's not great risk-reward play to start entering longs where it's not in a major reaction zone. Okay, you ideally want to look for these dips into these bigger areas there. That's where you can start building these types of longs. So AVAX, watch these regions closely. You can see these are big levels. This should take you nicely into Wednesday. You've got 3 banger zones here. If we do get downside into Wednesday, that you could look for some potential reactions. And then upside, you can see we've got clear danger ahead of us. There's a 618 fib here at 24.7. So if we do get a bounce here, this is a TP zone for me. Okay, for that AVAX long that I'm in, 24.7. Then we do have our highs, 25.5. Those are the big ones you want to watch to the upside. These are the zones where the bears are going to be looking for shorts. These are the zones, if you in scalp longs, you're tightening up your stops. You're taking a little bit of profit. You're not getting too euphoric. These are big resistance bands where you need to pay attention. Okay, and here's a couple of trades that I am in at the moment on WEEX, and they're one of my exchange partners. You can see I'm in a scalp ponky long at the moment. There's the AVAX long that I flipped long in. I've started building a SUI short. I'm going to show you the SUI short, and I'm going to show you my thought process behind it. And there is my injective short as well that is still running. Okay, this thing is now starting to print. Injective is under pressure. We're going to look at that one in a couple of minutes now. We're going to go through this. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here is injective. So guys, remember all these exchanges and things you see that I'm using, ZoomX, WEEX, Prime XBT, all these exchanges, there's links in the description for you. They're all great exchanges. They all offer something unique, something different. But most importantly, there's no KYC on these exchanges. You need an email address and a VPN. You send them some crypto, and then you can crack on with your trading. And they perform identically to a lot of the other exchanges that you guys are familiar with. Let's go. Let's look at Injective. So here is Injective on the 4 hour. Okay, and you can see we've got a clear picture here for Injective as to what is happening. We've rejected at our 20 zone, so you can see why this was a nice little short region for me. This was a typical push into the 618, typical push into trend, typical push into a rejection area. That often gives you a nice area to look for shorts. Remember, The converse is when we're dropping into these zones, we get opportunities to look for longs. And it's the same when we're pushing into these areas. So that was always going to be a big fight for us on Injective, the 20 region. Now we are pushing lower and we are actually moving into a zone of interest here. This is actually a bullish zone for Injective. This is bull zone number 1. Why is this bull zone number 1? We've got our anchored VWAP from the dump on the 6th of August. Okay, beautiful. We've got horizontals here, and we've got a 382 fib. So, you know, if we have a reasonable day here in the US markets, I'm expecting something along these lines for Injective. Okay, some kind of push here off this region. So if you are sitting in Injective, my best bet here for you is to look for support underneath the dump. You can see we've got our 6th of September anchored VWAP just pushing under here at 17.8. So I would say if you're sitting in an Injective long, look for a close under 17.7. Okay, if you start closing under 17.7, that's potentially telling you that there is going to be more downside here on Injective. Okay, so look out for that. We've got a big war zone here, 18.2 to 17.8. Nice juicy zone here, a little bit of downside maybe later today, a little bit of volatility, and then a potential bounce off that region. If this zone doesn't hold, you're looking lower. Okay, and as bearish as this sounds, 16 looks like an area of interest to me. Why is that a nice zone? Well, you can see what we got going on here. I've got a rising trend, and I've also got a nice little 786 pool that ties in with horizontals as well in this region. So 16.1, that's a high conviction zone for me if we do get some kind of meltdown. So that is going to look something like that. Okay, you get a dip into that region, you could probably get away with about a 2% stop, something like that, and then you're going to look for a nice strong bounce off that region. Now, that is a worst case scenario. Okay, we don't really want to go that deep. Right now, 18.2, watching that zone here. Let's see if we get some kind of reaction there on Injective. Okay, the next banger I've got for you guys is 𝗬𝗢, and you can see I started a short on 𝗬𝗢. We know 𝗬𝗢 has shown a lot of strength of late. It's been really pushing hard. It's you know, Phantom also one of the big players at the moment, and there's a lot of talk around 𝗬𝗢. But you know, we were looking at this thing yesterday, and it just felt like it was getting a little bit tired. And there's a couple of reasons why I'm interested in the short. So right now, this thing is moving into the 200-day moving average. We know that's traditionally quite a big reaction area. Then we've also got some order blocks here. I'm using 𝗬𝗥𝗑𝗥. You can see our order blocks we got from 𝗬𝗥𝗑𝗥. And look at that purple one up there at the top. That is an order block that is in the way there for us. Then we've got this rising trend that you can spot here on the 4-hour. And I'm watching this one very closely. So what am I looking here? What am I looking for? If we do get some kind of push up, I'm looking for this trend to get lost, and then looking for this thing to start melting down here for us on 𝗬𝗢. So my current game plan with 𝗬𝗢, how am I playing it? I've started that position. I'm going to use 1.14 as potential zone of interest number 1, okay, as a potential reaction zone. Then I've got another band here of horizontals that we need to pay attention to. Look at that nice little region at 1.17. So both of these areas are in fact rejection zones for us, where we could look for some kind of rejection on 𝗬𝗢. So if we start pushing into these areas, okay, that is going to be your hot zone. If we start closing above these zones, okay, then 𝗬𝗢 turns bullish again for me, and we start sending this higher. But right now for me, I'm looking for 𝗬𝗢 to float around this area here, maybe a little push up. We can add a little bit to that short. When we start losing this trend, okay, 𝗬𝗢 is going to start falling over, then we're going to add more to that short, and we're going to bang our stop wherever we get that little retest or that lower high end play there on 𝗬𝗢. That is where we're going to bang our stop. So we got to let this thing play out a little bit. And for me, any pushes up into these types of regions there could be quite interesting for us. And we're going to look for a little bit more downside, probably about 11% move that we could try and generate here out of 𝗬𝗢. And very simple game plan here. If we lose the trend, the short is on. If we start blowing up through these horizontal resistance and we close above 1.17, okay, that short is off. Okay, then we wrong. I'm wrong. I get rinsed. I get stopped out. All those types of things. If we lose the trend, we add to this thing, and we send it straight to hell. Okay, not maybe where it belongs. Maybe where it belongs. Okay, another one for you guys is Rune. I've got 2 setups here for you. So remember, these charts are designed to help you guys leading into Wednesday. I want you guys to have some clear levels. If we do get some more downside, Rune is the next one on the 12-hour that I'm watching very closely. And Rune for me remains bullish as long as we are holding 3.6. Okay, so I've highlighted the 3.6 region for you guys. You can see what's going on here. We're reacting on a 382 fib. We're reacting on horizontals. We're reacting on the 50-day MA. So things are looking good here so far for Rune. Okay, we're holding well 3.83. If things turn bearish leading into Wednesday, watching 3.6. That for me is the next potential long zone there on Rune on this 12-hour time frame. Okay, that for me is a potential bounce zone, and we typically want to play the rising trend. You can see we've got a nice rising trend. We got horizontals. We got a 618. We know Rune loves a 618. So 3.6, that is your, that's your danger level when things start falling over there. 3.6, watch that area. Right now today, we've got support 3.83. Now, let's dial in, okay? What is going on with Rune from a zoomed in perspective? What is actually happening here? What are these guys doing? And the alarm bells are on for me right now on Rune. So what you can see is happening here on the 1 hour time frame. We've got our rising trend. Okay, look at that. Nice little rising trend here on Rune. What has happened? We've lost the trend. Okay, where did we bounce? 382 fib, 50-day MA, nice reaction zone. Now we've pumped up. So now we are potentially in a bear zone for Rune. Okay, a little bit of caution here for Rune. You can see we've lost this trend. And guys that like to trade breakouts, let's flip this thing over. Let me give you a little perspective as to what is going on here. So if we were looking for longs and Rune popped through this trend and got a nice little rejection, where would we look for our next long? And you can see quite clearly on this chart, this is the zone that you'd be looking at for some kind of bounce. This type of region here for Rune, okay, if we were going to send that to the next level. So now let's flip this back and just put on our bear caps. And you can see we've lost the rising trend, so that is bearish. We're now busy with a retest of the rising trend, and Rune for me is potentially looking a little bit sad. So how do we get out of this? When does Rune turn bullish again? So we've either got to revisit those lows that I've just showed you on that higher time frame chart, or these areas lower down, or alternatively Rune needs to start reclaiming some key areas. So what do we want to see from here? We want to see some kind of flag on Rune. Okay, some kind of consolidation here. Then you're going to see some kind of trend break in that area, and bang, that is what you're going to be looking for if this thing is going to turn bullish. So if you're active on Rune and you're watching this thing closely, you can dial in to the 15-minute time frames. You can start looking for some kind of flag to form on Rune. If we start breaking that flag, that could be a ticket for you guys to send this thing higher up, and this might be pushing a little bit higher for you. So look for structure in that region. Okay, as simple as that. And once you do get a break of this flag, you're going to then bang your stop under whatever your previous low was. So that will be the low in the next couple of hours. If they do just dip it lower, you're going to bang a stop under that region. Then you're going to look for that push higher. So right now, on paper, Rune looking a little bit bearish, okay? If you're dialing into the 15 minutes, different story. You can look for that flag breakout. But for me right now, Rune potentially coming lower. Be patient, let it play out. There is no rush. Okay. Now, Rune has been one of my trades on the 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗕 competition that we are hosting at the moment, and we've got the Sniper Club guys involved as well. And for those of you that don't know what this is, it's 𝗬𝗢𝗥, one of my trading partners. They've got a short little competition running, and they've given an exclusive deal to everybody who is trading on my squad. So here's my squad. It's called the Disciples of Entry. Okay, so this is on 𝗬𝗢𝗥. You can see we are coming 14th now in the competition. I've got 44 people in my squad, and we are looking, we want a strong finish. We want to be, top 3, top 4 would be a nice little finish for us. And the nice thing for anybody trading in my team is 𝗬𝗢𝗥 have been kind enough to offer the winner $1,000 as a prize. The second prize, $600, and the third is going to get $400. So right now you can see FJ the second. He's one of our Sniper Club members. He's actively trading in Sniper Club. He's always in the traders chats as well. He's winning the competition at the moment, so he's in line to win $1,000 here as first prize. And you don't have to trade big size at all. This is a P&L competition, so it's not about how big your position is. You could be literally trading, $100 to $500 situations here on 𝗬𝗢𝗥. It doesn't have to be anything big at all. So jump in, guys. There's a link in the description. Come and join me, okay? If you come and win this thing, you're going to win prize money anyway. It could be a lot of fun. And remember, Sniper Club, guys, we've got a separate channel in the Sniper Club for the 𝗬𝗢𝗥 competition. So we've got other traders in there also dropping a couple of setups and things that they are looking at. So tons happening there. And let's move on. We're cramming these things in here. Okay, let's talk Phantom. And Phantom on the daily, you can see the situation. Okay, we're super bullish with Phantom at the moment. We are now pushing into a big resistance band. This is 0.53. So bigger picture. Okay, Phantom looks okay, but it is at resistance. So what do we say to the bulls here? Okay, if you're bullish and you want to look at this thing and you want to take a move to the 0.64 level, how do you get there? Okay, so on the 12-hour, you can see we clearly need to break this massive horizontal here in the way, 0.53. If we break through that area convincingly and get a nice little support formation here at 0.53, then the next move is on for us for Phantom. Then the next trade is going to be to 0.64. So right now, bulls, your options are wait for that break higher and a nice support buy here, 0.53. Alternatively, look at this hot zone that we've got a little bit lower down. If we do get some kind of pullback here in the market leading into Wednesday, 0.42. Now, this is a big area for me. This is the trend. This is the 618. This is the 50-day MA. This is the anchored VWAP. This is a massive area. Okay, if we get meltdown into that zone, best you have your alarm on. Okay, best you be ready to jump into a Phantom position down here in this type of region. You're looking for a bounce there, 0.42. Okay, now, what do we do on a smaller time frame? So I showed you guys my trade from earlier, and I've taken a little scalp, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to go about that. So what you can do is dial in to the 1 hour time frame again and get a nice little picture as to what is actually happening here on the smaller time frames. And as we dial in more to the 15 minutes, things like that, naturally the risk starts going up because now we've identified the big area on the 12-hour, the high conviction zone. Okay, now what do we do in between if the market starts moving? So you can look for things like trend breaks and those type of things. And you can see Phantom here, we've broken this trend. Look at that. We've broken out of this trend on the 1 hour. We've had a fake out, okay? But we had a bounce on a decent area. Why is that a decent area? It's the 100-day moving average. It's the anchored VWAP from the 6th of September dumps. And it's some horizontals. So that for me on the 1 hour was a high reaction zone. That's a high impact zone there for us on Phantom. So now we've had a nice little bounce. And now we're looking for some kind of bullish little flag or bullish pullback here on Phantom to hold. And then will that give us the ticket into the next area? So for me, my current strategy for that trade, I'm looking for Phantom to hold anything down to this trend, 0.498, anywhere in that region. Then I'm looking for a pop there. That's the only way I can stay bullish on Phantom there if we get some kind of flag in that region. So if we start losing that area, I'm jumping out of that trade that you have just seen there on Bybit. I'm going to jump out of that thing. I'm not going to stick around. I don't want to watch this thing start bleeding out any lower. So it's a scalp situation for me. If Phantom turns bullish, this trend breakout turns into your ticket into the next zone. And the next zone is that push into the 200-day moving average. That is what you're going to be looking for. And that is how you get there on the lower time frame. So when you're on a daily or a 12-hour time frame, if you're on a daily or 12-hour time frame and you're sitting at a resistance band, the only way you can try and scalp a long entry is to look for these trend breakouts. Because remember, these are typically the bear zones. These are the zones where the higher time frame bear traders are looking for shorts in those areas. And if you're looking for an action or a little bit of a ticket to the next area, you are doing these type of trend breaks and these types of scalps. But naturally, your risk is high because we know this is a big reaction zone. This is a big resistance band for us currently on Phantom. So it's got a lot of work to do. Okay, so that's the plan there. You can see there's my Phantom trade and Sol and Sundog. Okay, so Sundog, absolute Tron shitcoin. That thing is still moving. Remember, guys, the theory with Sundog. Hello. Ray's back. Okay, look, we had twins there. Double Ray. So Sundog, my theory behind this and why am I holding Sundog is there might be some Binance news coming out, something like that. So we're waiting to see how that plays out. I'm naturally just holding this thing. I want to see what happens. At one point, this thing was about $2,500 up. It went down to about $200 up earlier today, but now it's back at about $890. So these things are super volatile. And I did add a touch to that Sundog position. So let's see. If you're interested in Sundog, might be some news coming and could be a little play. Now, couple more tokens here for you that I've zoomed out on just to give you guys a little bit of perspective as to what could be happening here on a bigger time frame. Now, Link is actually looking a little bit tired at the moment. And you can see on this 12-hour chart that I've got for you guys, I've got a hot zone a little bit lower down. So Link, are actually expecting something along these lines, some kind of push up here and then a dip into this region here. So for me, Link traders, I'm looking at about 10. Okay, as a potential next high conviction zone there for Link. And you guys know I was in that short yesterday. I closed it on the bounce on those lower time frames. I'm scalping long here. If we get closed out on that long and I get stopped out under that wick, my next zone for me on Link is going to be 10.17. So that is a downside play. Again, these charts are designed to last you guys into Wednesday. Anything can happen between now and Wednesday. Remember that. And if we do get 10 on Link, for me, that is a scalper play or a potential bounce long play on Link. And you can see why. Look at that rising trend. You've seen this on some of these other altcoins. What we don't like at the moment, you can see strong rejection there, lower high in play, maybe a little bit more downside. Look at 𝗧𝗥𝗘𝗕 says 46K first and 69K. I don't disagree. I can't disagree with that right now. Okay, we just watch our trends, we watch our big levels. If we lose these areas, then we adapt. Okay, but these alts are going to get hurt. Okay, if BTC is going to 46, these alts are going to get hurt. Another one, RWA Ondo. Okay, real world asset play, big BlackRock support, fundamentally an absolute banger. Okay, on the charts, not so great at the moment. And Ondo looking a little bit sad on the 12-hour. And just like you've seen on Link, I'm looking for a 618 bounce on Ondo. Now, we know from history that Ondo loves a 618 as well. So for me, a little bleed out for Ondo. I'm looking for longs here. 0.58, somewhere in that region. We're looking for some action on Ondo. 0.58, that could be a banger little area for you. And then this one, okay, this is your dark horse. This is your secret weapon. If we do get a stronger push down in the market, you're looking at 0.563. Okay, that for me is a nice bounce zone. And just like you've seen the pattern here with a lot of these altcoins, okay, we've got rising trends now in play that we can use. They're tying in with 618s. They're tying in with 786 fibs and things like that. So for me, two options here on Ondo. Scalpers, naturally, 0.5629. That is zone number one. Alternatively, for me, I'm looking for action off the 618 for Ondo, and we're just going to try and push that just to the high. So we're not getting greedy. We're just looking for a nice strong bounce if we do dip into that zone. I mean, 12K first. Okay, nice, bro. Jeez, guys. Hey, best we be in some shorts. If we're going to 12K, make sure you're in a couple of shorts there. That could be a little bit painful. Okay. So Ondo, you've got, okay, RWA play, another RWA play that I don't talk about enough. And I love this token fundamentally, Pendle. And this thing is also under a little bit trend pressure. Okay, so Pendle's performed better than Ondo. Okay, looking pretty decent here at the moment. So Pendle on the 12-hour, guys, we've still got trend in the way. Okay, so we've still got resistance in the way. And my message to the bulls again, and the same as some of these other tokens that you've seen. Where's the next bull play? Now, there's lots of time. If you're trading spot, you're trading margin, you're a patient trader, things like that. There's so much time. If you look at Pendle, look at this chart. There's so much time. You're not going to need any FOMO. Okay, the next bull play for me on Pendle is either going to be a push lower down or alternatively the push up through the trend, the retest, and then the send higher. There's literally no rush here on Pendle at the moment. You can see we've got big resistance ahead of us, 3.44. Wait for that to break. Let's get a clean break of that area. Let's look for consolidation, look for a retest. Then we get a banger entry there on Pendle to send it higher. Alternatively, if we do get weakness now later today or leading into Wednesday, 2.9. Okay, why is that a good zone? It's a 618 fib. It's horizontals. It's the 50-day MA. It's a great little area here for me on Pendle. So that's going to look something like that. Okay, little dip into that zone. You can probably flirt around with about a 3% stop, give or take. You're going to be looking for consolidation into that area. So if it does dip into that zone, remember the plan. Okay, you often get some kind of slowdown. They put the brakes on. You get some kind of consolidation, maybe a little stop hunt, and then they send that thing a little bit higher. So for me, Pendle 2.9, watch that zone. Alternatively, let's pop the trend. Let's be patient. Let it do its thing. Okay, we get that retest, then we'll be okay there. And then Pendle zoomed in for you guys. Same story. Okay, exactly the same story here on Pendle. And look at these VWAPs that are coming into play for us. Look at this. Look at the reaction of the VWAP from the dump on the 6th of September. This stuff is gold. Okay, you need this stuff on your charts. And 3.18 You can see that is our support. So pendle traders, smaller time frame guys, you're looking just for that region to hold there. Then maybe we get something bullish playing out for today. And then alternatively, here's that 2.9 that we're talking about. Big area for us to the downside. You're going to be watching that. So if the market starts falling over, that for me is the high conviction zone. That for me is the big one there. 2.91, that sort of region. That's where the banger is. And then 𝗬𝗓𝗓. I know there's a lot of people stressed about 𝗬𝗓𝗓. It looks like absolute dog shit at the moment relative to all these other tokens. 𝗬𝗓𝗓 is horrible. Okay, it's looking terrible, but I wanted to give you guys a perspective here on the weekly. And 18.9, you can see clear support on the weekly. Sorry, this is the daily. Clear support at 18.9 for 𝗬𝗓𝗓. And we're going to watch the zone. Okay, you can see it's not a healthy looking chart at the moment. 18.9, watch this region. Okay, if we lose that area, unfortunately, okay, for 𝗬𝗓𝗓 traders, your next level, 16.7. That's the most realistic level. If the market bleeds out, that is your next bounce zone, 16.7. So right now, 18.9, use that as support today if you're scalping and things like that. Lower down, 16.7 could be a little bit of pain for you guys. And that, guys, is a wrap. Okay, you've got everything you need now. You teed up leading into Wednesday. So no show from me tomorrow. These charts, mark them on your charts, put the alarms on. But most importantly, if you're trading other coins, you've now seen the basic principle behind what I've done here. So you can actually mimic this on your chart. So just pause the video, okay? Copy them on whatever charts or whatever altcoins you are trading on, and you're going to see the result is going to be very similar. And these hot zones, they're hot zones on all these coins, okay? So let them play out and identify them, practice these setups. They're going to be applicable for you guys. Right, okay, I'm off to Singapore. I'll update when and where I can. Sniper Club guys, I'll keep you guys posted naturally. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for entertaining me so early in the day. It's not normally my slot. See you guys later.